Italian Football Podcast.
Hello everybody and welcome to this reaction podcast on the Italian Football Podcast. I'm Carlo Garganese. The news is not official just yet as I'm recording this, but Luciano Spalletti will be the next manager of Juventus, replacing the sacked Igor Tudor. He will be manager of Juve until the end of this season, and there will be an automatic one-year renewal if Juventus qualify for the Champions League. He'll earn €3 million for the rest of this season. The official announcement is expected to be today, if not today, Wednesday that is, then at the latest Thursday. He will be or should be present at Juventus's game against Udinese on Wednesday evening, which is being overseen by next-gen coach Massimo Brambilla. Press conference will be on Thursday to present him. First training session on Thursday, first game on Saturday against Cremonese in Serie A. So Spalletti is going to be the next Juventus manager. He really wanted to manage Juventus. It's important to say that. He, given his past to Napoli, some of the things that have been said in the past, there were doubts whether he would take this job, but he really, really wanted the job. I think he's hurt by his, what happened with him in the Italy national team. And he's really keen to get back to club football and to prove himself again. And he's shown that he was prepared to give up the guarantees of a longer contract in order to join Juventus just until the end of the season initially. And Romeo Gresti has said that Spalletti basically said to Juve, to Damian Comolli, who negotiated this, that, if I don't get Juventus into the Champions League, then I don't deserve the job anyway. It's up to me to prove to you that I deserve this job in the long term. So I think that's honourable, and it shows that he's come here to win and to succeed, not just to take the job. He's rejected a number of foreign clubs in recent weeks and months. Saudi Arabia, Fenerbahce, Nottingham Forest were interested in the Premier League. He wanted to get another job in Italy, so he's really keen to succeed here. He'll bring some of his staff with him. Marco Domenchini, his deputy, long-term assistant, Daniele Baldini, a number of former staff who will work under the new Juventus head of performance, Darren Burgess. So yeah, that's the details. How will he do? I mean, it's tough. It's going to be tough for whoever comes in because Juventus just don't have the players. They're not a Scudetto winning team with the players they have. I think that's clear. So we can't expect a miracle. I think I said earlier this week that for me, Juventus only have two guarantees who are really guaranteed Juventus level, and those are Yildiz and Thuram. Bremer was, but obviously there's doubts now after the ACL and subsequently the meniscus, serious injury there. Conceição, I do think, has a part to play as well. But the only guarantees for me, kind of long-term, are Yildiz and Thuram. So Spalletti has not got the cards. He's going to have to show his qualities here, but what we know from Spalletti is he is somebody that he can improve players, he can create an identity, and he can build something. I think his biggest strength has always been, in club football anyway, has been building. We've seen that throughout his career, virtually every job he's been at, right back to Udinese, to Roma, but especially at Inter, he put the foundations of that Scudetto winning team that Conte won with. With Napoli, the way he built that team, that great special team that won the Scudetto with him, and then what Conte is doing now, winning the Scudetto last season. That was all Spalletti's work, building what he built there. And so I think that even with a really poorly constructed team, Juventus in one of the lowest points in their history, for me, maybe the weakest group of players they've had. in my lifetime. He's great at building. So that is definitely something to give hope. Also, his club teams have a clear identity. They want to control the play. They want to control possession. He wants to win the ball high up the pitch. It's very clear the way they play, something that wasn't clear, clear patterns of play, something that wasn't clear at all under Tudor, especially this season. We didn't see any identity. We didn't see any patterns. We didn't really see anything. So that's something that there won't be that confusion, you'd hope. He's obviously experienced. He's 66. He's managed many of the biggest teams in Italy. It's only going to be Milan remaining out of the big teams that he hasn't managed in Italy. Roma, Inter, Napoli. We forget that he won the Scudetto just over 2 years ago. It's not long ago, 2023, that he won the Scudetto. So, we're talking about someone's, at a very high level. But having said that, he needs the support of the club and the management. At Inter, he had, Marotta. At Napoli, De Laurentiis. These were people with the best of the best running the ship there. And any club needs that. And unfortunately, he doesn't have that at Juventus. The club is run terribly. It has been for the last 6 years. It's Elkan, who everybody knows. I've been very critical. I did a video on him that's gone viral, even in Italy, about, these are people that, they're not really up to it. And Comolli's come in, who done well in France with Toulouse, with Saint-Etienne, but failed at Liverpool and struggled at Tottenham, and is really at the level, the director level that he's working at, operating at, basically in control of the football operations at Juventus. He's unproven at that level. So, that's important. And so we'll have to see. But he's certainly, as a manager, better than the other options. We're talking about Palladino, who was the first alternative. This is somebody that's coached at Monza, Fiorentina, is very young. I'm not sure what identity of play Palladino has. So that would have concerned me, together with his inexperience. Mancini, amazing, experience and reputation, but I've been away from club football for a very long time, and his stock is a little bit low after the end to his Italy spell and Saudi Arabia national team. So, there would have been, maybe a few question marks there. Maybe unpopular. I mean, even Spalletti said things, but Mancini, some of the things he said during Calciopoli, that I can tell you would not have been popular with Juventus fans, him coming in. And he's also probably somebody that likes to be Alex Ferguson figure of controlling the whole transfer market, the players coming in, the whole structure. And that probably was never going to work with the Juventus leadership. Maybe it's something Juventus need, but I don't think it would have worked with them. And then some of the other options, Postecoglou, Terzic, Blanc. I mean, these are not serious options, really, if Juventus want to move forward. So I think Spalletti was the best available man out there. Should we be worried by his failure with the Italy national team? I don't think we should be, because I think that some managers are just more suited to club and some managers are more suited to national, and Spalletti just wasn't suited to national football. I think he likes to work day by day on the training ground, really drilling his players with his really, tactically, the way that he's a genius in many ways tactically, and you can't get that across the players when you're not working with them day by day, as with the national team. The slight concern would be his control of the group clearly wasn't right with the Italy national team. That he'll have to do better with at Juventus, be in control of the dressing room, people appreciating him and loving him. Well, not necessarily loving him, but him having control of them. Antonio Conte is not someone that necessarily is loved by players, but he gets them playing. So he needs to be steering the ship. I don't think we should be too worried. And I think, as I said before, he has a real desire for revenge, and that can be important as well, because he feels hurt by the failure with the Italy national team. Formation, look, it's the end of the back three. It's going to be a 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1 that Spalletti will play with Juventus. That is for sure. In terms of probable 11 for Spalletti at Juventus. Di Gregorio in goal. Then at right back, it's going to probably be, to start with, I imagine Kalulu, because there's a lack of alternatives. The only alternative is João Mario, and also Kalulu could potentially play that kind of Di Lorenzo role that kind of inverts into a back three, either in the build-up or in when you're covering. Centre back, Bremer will play when he's fit, and then you're looking at one of either Gatti or Kelly. Left back, it's probably going to be Cambiasso. Then in midfield, if it's a midfield two, then it's going to be Thuram for sure, and then one of Koopmeiners or Locatelli. And if it's a three-man midfield, it will be Thuram for sure, and then potentially Koopmeiners or Locatelli. But keep an eye on Miretti, who could be someone, if Spalletti is able to develop him, who has that kind of ability to kind of be more of an attacking midfielder and dip in and maybe be a threat in the box. And then for the wingers, we're looking at Yildiz on the left and Conceição probably on the right to start with. And then one of the three in attack, we're looking at Vlahovic, Openda or David. And that needs to be kind of decided still. For the winners and losers. Winners first. I think players who are more comfortable playing in the back four will probably win from this. That's not necessarily to do with Spalletti. That's just to do with the formation. Kalulu and Gatti, for me, are much better in the back four than in the back three. So I think that they can benefit from this. Conceição can be a winner. Conceição, can he be like a Politano? Can Spalletti make Conceição as influential for him as Politano was for Napoli? One of the strikers that wasn't working well under Tudor, maybe somebody like Jonathan David, can he benefit from this? I mean, it can't get any worse for him or for Openda. So they need to try and look at this positively. Thuram, can Spalletti get Thuram to improve his technical and his passing under, Thuram's passing under Tudor hasn't been the best. So can Spalletti improve him? Can Spalletti make Tudor, or can Spalletti make Thuram his Anguissa? If Politano, if Conceição is the Politano of Juventus, can Thuram be the Anguissa of Juventus? And can Yildiz be the Kvaratskhelia of Juventus? We saw what Spalletti did for Kvaratskhelia at Napoli. Can he take Yildiz onto this next level that we know Yildiz has? And Motta didn't quite get the best out of him. Motta was making him hug the touchline, keeping him too far away from goal. I'm sure that Spalletti will put Yildiz closer to goal. And, can he get the best out of him? I mean, he started the season really well under Tudor, but then he's fallen away badly. So hopefully, the patterns of play, the more offensive style of play, that can benefit Yildiz as well. And also, hopefully, the physical conditioning of the players can not only benefit Yildiz, but benefit the whole team. We've seen the Juventus that has just looked really tired. The head of performance, Darren Burgess, that's something he needs to sort out because it's unacceptable. Not only the number of injuries, but just the conditioning of the players, how they just don't seem to have that energy, that intensity, that recovery, playing twice a week. And we know that Spalletti demands that. So that's important as well. Losers. I mean, there's one loser, of course, that's obvious, and that is Manuel Locatelli. Didn't have a great relationship with Spalletti at the Italy national team, was left out of Euro 2004, and Spalletti never really seemed to fancy him. When Rino Gattuso took over the Italy national team, Locatelli said that he liked Gattuso because he said things straight to his face. And that can be seen, I think many saw that as an indirect kind of attack on Spalletti, who maybe his communication wasn't the best. That's something also Spalletti will probably need to improve a little bit at Juventus. He'll need to improve his communication with the players. And, Gatti wasn't, Italy had a lot of centre-back options. Gatti wasn't a massive favourite of Spalletti's. Cambiaso didn't necessarily gain his trust in terms of playing as well. So, not saying they're losers, but I'm saying that, Spalletti those things will need to be worked on. But certainly Locatelli, you do have to fear for him a little bit, kind of going forward if Spalletti is going to be a long-term option here. But then again, maybe working with Locatelli day in, day out, maybe they can change that. Locatelli's not a bad player technically, but until now, Spalletti's just not really liked something about him. Vlahovic, his contract expires. He probably doesn't have a long-term future at the club anyway. But is Vlahovic? We know Spalletti likes players that are, can be involved in the build-up. Is Vlahovic technically good enough? Can he do what, say, like an Osimhen did, coming back, picking it up? I don't know. But maybe David, is more comfortable on the ball out of the three players. Maybe we'll see. One of those three strikers has to make that position their own. Looking ahead, the January mercato. So what we know for sure is that Spalletti will demand to sign a regista in January, a Lobotka-like player, or a David Pizarro, or a Brozovic. The kind of player that can dictate and run the game, and the play will come through from the deep line central midfield position. And Spalletti doesn't see Locatelli as that, which is also a concern for Locatelli, because I don't see Locatelli as a mezzala, to be honest. And that's who Spalletti, that's his first demand, to sign a regista. Hjulmand from Sporting Lisbon Morten Hjulmand is the dream signing, but I just don't see how that's possible economically. He's got an 80 million release clause. I think they'll ask for 60 million. I just don't see Juventus being able to afford that. And I don't think Sporting will let him go in January anyway. So, he's the dream. Romeo Grestis in Bianconere has said that Boadi from Lille is an option. He's valued at maybe 30 to 40 million. 18 years old, really talented young player. Had an incredible game against Real Madrid on his 17th birthday. There's also Schlager from Leipzig. That name always cracks me up. Schlager. He's been linked as well. I'm not sure whether his profile is right, but Spalletti's going to demand a regista in January, and also a right back. The options that Juventus have, Kalulu playing out of position, João Mario. We'll see. We'll see if anything can be done with João Mario. But a right back is going to be a request almost certainly from Spalletti. Norton Cuffy from Genoa has been linked, but we'll see. We'll see who they get. Maybe a centre back is less important now that they're going to be moving from a back three. Certainly numerically, they don't seem to be lacking there, but maybe quality. If we're looking further ahead, end of the season. Could Kim Min-jae, who's out of favour at Bayern Munich, could that be one to watch out for? That's just my own suggestion. So Luciano Spalletti is going to be the next manager, and it's going to be fascinating. Spallettone is back in Serie A. It's good for Serie A as well to have him back, and let's see how he does. Let's see if he can get Juventus back on track. They face a battle to get in that top four. They're really struggling, and they just don't really seem to have the players. But Spalletti, we've seen his genius in Serie A for many years, and Juventus fans will be hoping he can do that once again. Just a note to say that there will be no Juventus post-match tonight. Now, I decided to do this instead because I think that this is all that matters today. Now is is Spalletti's appointment. But Nima will be doing a post-match of Fiorentina versus Inter in the late kickoff tonight. So keep an eye out for that later this evening. And then we will be back next week for a post-match or post-weekend review of all the Serie A action and plenty more stuff as well, including, of course, what will be Luciano Spalletti's first game in charge of Juventus against Cremonese. So watch out for that. Have a great week. Ciao, ciao.